The term graphic design was first coined by William Addison Dwiggins in 1922. While graphic design as a discipline has a relatively recent history, graphic design-like activities span the history of humankind, from the caves of Lascaux to Rome's Trajan columns to the illuminated manuscripts of the Middle Ages and beyond. In both this lengthy history and in the relatively recent explosion of visual communication in the 20th and 21st centuries, there is sometimes a blurring distinction and an overlapping of advertising art, graphic design, and fine art. After all, they share many of the same elements, theories, principles, practices, and languages, sometimes even the same benefactor or client. In advertising art, the ultimate objective is the sale of goods and services. In graphic design, the essence is to give order to information, form to ideas, expression and feeling to artifacts that document human experience. Johannes Gutenberg brought movable type to the world in the middle of the 15th century with the Gutenberg Bible, forever altering the art of typography and publication design. The superb typographic legibility and texture, generous margins, and excellent presswork make this first printed book a canon of quality that has seldom been surpassed. Illuminators added red and blue headers, initials, and text by hand. In terms of graphic design as we know it, Gutenberg's technological innovation of his press forever impacted the future of publication design. Not until the innovative advancements in the printing press that took place during the Industrial Revolution and the advancements in typography that they brought were any real significant changes made in the graphic design industry. For the purposes of this presentation, and for the sake of brevity, I want to focus attention on the advancements made in the field from the late 20th century forward to illustrate the most recent advances in the field of graphic design and demonstrate the impact of change that modern technology has had on the industry. It is this modern period that has been advancing at an exponential rate. Interestingly enough, it was not until the 1920s that the name graphic design first appeared in print, and it is around this very time that the field became an integral part of shifting views and cultural norms. Through the growth of advertising and consumerism during the 1950s and 60s, and the ever-shrinking landscape brought into existence through the advent of globalization and what we now call the World Wide Web, the graphic design industry has been in constant state of flux through an unstoppable innovation at an incredible rate of change. In this presentation, I aim to look at the many advances in technology that have impacted the modern field of graphic design, beginning from the Madison Avenue days of advertising up through the present day, to show how firms in the industry have had to overcome change in order to survive. I'll also explore the direction that these changes in technology are taking the industry, and how those just starting out or those looking to break into the field of graphic design are being impacted. The way graphic design looks is intimately related to technology. From the earliest days through very recent times, print was the traditional medium for designers. As innovations in printing technology evolved, so did the look of graphic design. The Industrial Revolution produced a surplus of products for the first time in history. The need to advertise and promote these products helped fuel the printing industry. Before magazines, television, or the internet existed, the only way to advertise was to print posters and handbills. As photographic processes matured, type was recorded on a photographic film. Type designers first drew the letters using pen and ink at large sizes. When the drawing was reduced photographically, any flaw became invisible. The process produced far superior type than the previous method, which was to carve them out of metal. Right up through the early 1980s, graphic designers depended heavily on hand illustration to create mock-ups and comps for their clients. Graphic designers copied, pasted, and stripped literally using mimeographs and photocopiers. Before using the computer as a tool for design, Graphic designers used scalpels, drawing boards, typesetting machines, and darkrooms. Each element that belonged on the final page of the design concept was either illustrated or cut out from actual pictures. If the sizing wasn't correct, back to the darkroom. Once the final design layout was placed correctly, large cameras were required to create negative film of the final design for the stripping process. Stripping is the process of arranging the film negatives into a pattern to create an order of pages. Each color requires its own negative when using a printing press. These processes required much skill and were extremely time-consuming. All graphic designers worked this way before 1984, when Apple first introduced the Mac with a graphic user interface and a mouse. Apple revolutionized the industry and made graphic design much more common and widespread. The invention of the personal computer and its eventual general affordability made it possible for untrained designers to create their own documents. This injured the market for professionals, as anyone could buy their own software, which included document templates, typefaces, clip art, and more. Many companies that once relied on expert graphic designers attempted to cut costs by bringing those responsibilities in-house. By 1990, software giants such as Corel, Adobe, and Quark began manufacturing and selling desktop publishing software that was intuitive to learn, and thus a large increase in the self-learned designer entered into the industry. They combined with the growing trend of in-house graphic design endeavors, and that led to a challenge in the job market for classically trained designers and aging designers not yet current with the shifting paradigm. By the mid-1990s, the widespread availability of the Internet and the ever-increasing speeds becoming more and more accessible, the graphic design field felt another fluctuation in demand. Although desktop publishing software was now affordable and easily obtained by so many, the need for web designers and graphic content providers for the web felt a boon. The World Wide Web drove demand for technically trained experts in the field of design for attractive, highly functioning websites for businesses across wide spectrums of the industry. Throughout the mid to late 90s, skilled graphic designers were once again in high demand. As the millennium came to a close, software and hardware alike were undergoing constant innovation at an exponential rate. Easy-to-use, highly functioning digital cameras were placed in the hands, and eventually in the phones, of a giant amount of consumers across the developed world. Wacom pen tablets, high-end image scanners, and creative software became relatively cheaper in price and therefore more accessible to most anyone with an interest in the area of graphic design. The title photographer, illustrator, web designer, and videographer all began to amalgamate. Online video tutorials by way of YouTube or sites such as lynda.com began seeing a spike in active users. Much of the software being introduced was WYSIWYG, or what you see is what you get, meaning that technical knowledge of code or photography was becoming less and less important in navigating through the software.
Cloud computing is an expression used to describe a variety of different types of computing concepts that involve a large number of computers connected through a real-time communication network such as the Internet. Cloud technology replaces the physical software with virtual space. Instead of the one-time purchase of software, users pay for the use and often file storage and access on a monthly basis. Early in 2013, Adobe made a disappointing announcement concerning their Creative Suite software. Going forward, the product would no longer be offered as a software. Instead, Adobe rolled out Creative Cloud, a pay-per-month contract-based program that would replace the conventional one-time buy software. With the announcement of the cloud came the announcement that development of Adobe Creative Suite 7 and all plans of future Creative Suites have been discontinued. The only option going forward will be the Creative Cloud subscription model. Many designers, including myself, were reluctant at best to embrace the change in Adobe's business model. In fact, over 5,000 designers have now signed a Change.org petition calling on the company to keep selling packaged software. Most people who support the petition feel that Adobe is making their already expensive products even more expensive in the long run through the membership fee scheme. While multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporations may seem to have infinite amount of resources available, for small businesses, freelancers, and the average consumers, the Creative Cloud adds a significant barrier and possible devastating obstacle from remaining in the market. Not all of Adobe's consumers will be able to make such a large payment every month on the Creative Cloud subscription model. Many intuitively feel that in the short term, the subscription model looks to be okay, but over time, the only entity that is benefiting from this is Adobe. It's likely that membership fees will rise over time. Most embrace the belief that the prior model, paying a one-time fee for infinite access, is a much better business model and is much better for the consumer. It is the hope of all of those who signed the petition at Change.org that the end user can make a difference and stand up to Adobe and let them know where they stand. It's their hope that in this situation, rather than embracing change imposed by a big technology firm, the designers can be the ones impacting the change by negotiating a choice for themselves to join the Creative Cloud or to have the option to purchase the software the way they always have. At least Corel, Adobe's prominent competitor, has taken notice. Rather than jump on the our way or the highway business model, at least they are offering the choice, subscription or perpetual box download. The move was successful in taking many loyal customers from Adobe over the past year, and it is yet to be seen how Adobe will respond. In an industry that has existed for so long and undergone so many changes, growing at the same rate as technology, many feel that the next step, the virtual pay-as-you-go model, is inevitable. This presentation has demonstrated that since its existence, the field of graphic design has been continuously changing thanks to the impact of innovative technology. Presently, with the direction of the Creative Cloud paradigm, designers are on the threshold of a new era, one that will again affect the barriers of entry and the sustainability of success.